It is December 4th, 2025, and I have finished up to season 12, episode 17 of Grey's Anatomy. So there's a lot of things that I haven't talked about yet because other things took priority, like Derek's death, Jackson and April's divorce, that kind of thing. But those are all kind of coming to a head now, and this is kind of an object lesson in Grey's Anatomy and in life. Don't discount the side characters. Because we need to have a conversation about Ben Warren. We also need to have a conversation about this season's musical direction, but more on that later. So I'm a fan of Ben. I've always been a fan of Ben. He is one of the men on the show who is worth something. Okay, cool. And honestly, considering the way that Alex has been fucking up with Joe lately, they worked it out, but Ben is, at this point, the husband guy on the show who is worth something. Ben was an anesthesiologist. He was the gas man for a little bit when he started dating Bailey. Then he decided he wanted to do a surgical residency. So he's like the old guy, like the grandpa in Joe's resident intern class. Okay, cool. And I genuinely like this dynamic because the other intern groups that we've seen so far, they didn't have someone who was so significantly older than them. And also someone who was an attending or maybe the department head of anesthesiology. I'm not quite sure how far he was in the food chain of anesthesiology, but he had on dark blue scrubs when we met him. So he was definitely an attending, and he took a step down because he wanted to be a surgeon, which is really cool, very ambitious. And it was, I guess, that wisdom that allowed him to make certain calls that I think the younger residents wouldn't have, and it's really bitten him in the ass now. So Ben gets called into this thing with the psychology attending because a guy starts to have like an issue that requires surgery. Okay, fine. But they don't have any sharp objects in the psych ward, like, obviously. So Ben's just like, this man is actively dying in front of us and you don't want to bring sharps up here. Like, what the fuck are we going to do? And the intern runs out to go get like an attending or whatever. And Ben's just like, I'm taking shit in my own hands. And he rips off the clipboard clip and does the surgery that way. And Richard hits the roof. He's so upset. And he's just like, Ben, like, what the fuck is this? But the guy lives. So I guess it kind of told Ben, like, okay, like, in Ben's mind, that was the right thing to do. And honestly, the guy's life was saved. And I was like, okay, like, that's kind of badass. Like, and he would be like the intern for doing that. And Bailey comes back from like this all-night organ transplant. And she's just like, I had to come back to like discipline my husband. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, what the hell is wrong with you? But Ben stands by it. He gets a 3-day suspension. He goes back to work. Okay, fine. But then there's this code ping, like this missing kid. And it turns out the kid was like hiding under the stairs. So they kind of locked down for nothing. But during that lockdown, Ben is trapped with a pregnant woman who is like 2 seconds away from dying of like pregnancy related complications. And DeLuca, who's an intern, and he's sleeping with Maggie, but he's not anymore. Like, more on that later. Then Ben's just like, we are stuck and this lady is actively dying in front of us. We have to do something. So he does the C-section in the middle of the hallway and the mom and the baby both die. Whether it was Ben's fault, I'm not sure. I guess like the ensuing investigation will deal with that because Bailey started going around and asking people like, hey, like, how was this patient left alone with a resident who felt the need to cut her open and all of that? But then she looks back at the security footage and she notices that the elevator doors opened right before Ben started cutting. And Ben heard the noise of the elevator door opening and cut into her anyway. So he didn't have to do that. And then this woman died and her baby. And then Bailey has to go tell the oldest daughter. And then when Bailey goes to tell the oldest daughter, I'm looking and I'm like, Asia Ray from Dance Moms? For those unaware of Dance Moms or the lore, she was on Dance Moms for about half a season and she had style, she had spunk, and I don't think she ever lost when it came to her solos. Like this girl was undefeated, and I think the only undefeated girly in the entire run that was a regular cast member. But anyway, back to Ben. Bailey confronts Ben about this, and Ben is like, no, like, I didn't see that. And Bailey's like, I saw you look up towards the door before you did it. And I guess now, next episode, like what the hell is gonna happen to Ben? Stephanie says a thing to Joe while they're doing this investigation, and she's just like, surgery is a drug, and Ben was flying high. As for Ben's sort of partner in crime in all of this, this is DeLuca. I don't think I've ever talked about DeLuca in these like little recaps before, because other things definitely took priority. But DeLuca is an intern. He started sleeping with Maggie, who is the head of cardiology, and Meredith's sister and all of that. And they were going around in secret for a little bit, and then little by little people started finding out. Her biological dad found out, which was very awkward. But eventually these two go public, and it's sweet. Like, I liked them. They were very sweet. And it didn't seem like there was like too much of an age gap between them, because Maggie is like this prodigy. I think she was an attending in like her early 20s or whatever. So like she's in a different stage of life than DeLuca, but I don't think they're in this, I think they're in the same age bracket. But then as soon as they go public, I think the scrutiny of being the intern dating and attending in a long line of interns dating attendings, I think it was a little bit too much for DeLuca, and he bows out. And Maggie's really hurt by it. The good news is that she and Amelia can be single together, because Amelia dumped Owen because Owen got really, really drunk and is dating a girlie in AA. Stupid Owen. So Maggie and Meredith and Amelia can go forth and do their single girl shit, and Meredith, I think, is going to be like the grounding force between them, because she's not just single, like she's widowed. Meredith, for her part, is actually starting to date again. She definitely was not ready to sleep with the guy that she was dating, and she said it was a good time or whatever, but she woke up and the guy was still there, and she freaked out. Totally fair. Girlie, take your time. I'm just so happy to see you winning, and so happy to see you kind of like delineating out your boundaries and doing all the shit that you weren't doing when Derek was alive. Like, I love Meredith now. Penny is my new favorite resident intern, like underling, by a country mile now. She's incredible. There's this moment where Meredith gets attacked by a patient, and Penny is just all in advocating for Meredith, because Meredith has a panic attack while her jaw is wired shut. And Penny actually like undoes her wires, and Jackson starts screaming at her like, what the fuck are you doing? And Penny's just like, my patient couldn't breathe. Like, I understand that like she needs these to heal, but like she couldn't breathe. We'll rewire her later. Let her breathe. Holy shit. Joe and Stephanie think that she's really underhanded, because she ended up applying for this grant like the day of. Like, she did it really last minute, and she told Joe and Stephanie she wasn't going to go for it. And they were worried that she would, because they thought that she would win. But then she did go for it, and she did win. And Stephanie comes for Amelia for it, because Stephanie is like, hey, like, are you going to recommend me for this thing? And Amelia's like, yeah, absolutely. But also Amelia realizes over the course of the season that Penny actually has a real head and real hands for neurology. It was a very Heather Brooks situation with Derek. So it was very like full circle in that way, but also kind of showed that, one, Amelia is ready to forgive Penny for her part in Derek's death. And also she can recognize good neurology talent, and it doesn't matter how she feels about that specific person. She's still going to teach you what she knows. So Stephanie was feeling kind of threatened by that. And she was right to, because when Penny's name started coming up in the attendings discussions about this fellowship, Amelia had to be like, Penny's incredible. This kind of leaves her relationship with Callie up in the air, Penny, because Penny, I think, has to move across the country. Like, what's Callie going to do? Are they going to break up? And Callie's crazy about her. There's so much more to cover. Like, Jackson and April got divorced, and I meant to mention that earlier, but then April's pregnant again, and Jackson just found out about it, and then Arizona told Jackson about it before April had it. April was coming up the stairs to tell Jackson about it, and Arizona spilled the beans. And April was really, really mad at Arizona for it, but it told her to go to hell. She's like, I want you to know how much I mean it when I say this, because I'm so fucking Christian. When I tell you to go to hell, I mean it. Rotten fucking hell, bitch. They work it out, which is fine or whatever, but now Jackson and April are about to have like this huge protracted legal battle, because April overheard Catherine saying that she wanted to sue her for full custody because she lied about being pregnant, even though she didn't lie, and Jackson didn't want to stay with her. Like, of course she didn't want. Oh my God, Team April all the way. There's so much shit I haven't covered. And there's actually like a gripe I have with this season that I don't even have time to deal with, because we're coming up on 10 minutes. So I'm gonna have to make another video about that later. But holy shit, Grey's Anatomy is popping the fuck off. What's gonna happen to Ben? What's gonna happen to everybody? Jesus Christ!